Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. This is a new presentation from www.central-mosque.com and from the Humble Heart YouTube channel. This is the 10th episode of the Making Sense series, and today we will discuss the utter chaos in the last 72 hours, which has resulted from the letter that Secretary of State of the United States, Anthony Blinken, sent to the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani. We will talk about the contents of the letter, which are now being discussed in the media. We will talk about the divisions between the Afghan government. We will talk about and show you the actual images of the CIA, the US Air Force, potentially MI6 and Qatari military planes landing in Islamabad today on Monday, the 8th of March. Before we talk about this topic, we would just like to remind you that the people of Afghanistan have suffered enormously for the past few decades. We turn to Allah and we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pray that may Allah ta'ala bring peace, prosperity, and safety to Afghanistan and its people. Ameen. Let's now begin our topic. It is important that we read this entire letter in full for you to understand why it's created the chaos and utter situation of desperateness and hopelessness in certain elements of the Afghan government. So let's begin. The letter begins, His Excellency Ashraf Ghani, President of Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. Dear Mr. President, I hope this letter finds you well. I will be sending a similar message to Chairman Abdullah. I have appreciated the opportunity to speak with you and to consult regarding the United States review of its strategy in Afghanistan. Your and your team's perspective have added value to our deliberations. I'm writing today to provide you with an update on where we stand, the immediate road ahead, and the urgent leadership that President Biden and I ask of you in the coming weeks. Although we have not yet completed our review of the way ahead, we have reached an initial conclusion that the best way to advance our shared interests is to do all we can to accelerate peace talks and to bring all parties into compliance with their commitments. Straight away, you can see that that's ruffled some serious feathers in Afghanistan because number one, the Americans are saying, we ask of you, i.e., do this. Number two, they're saying we're going to bring all parties into compliance with their commitments, meaning everybody in Afghanistan. So, number one, Afghans saying that the Americans can't order us around. Number two, they're saying we don't want to deal with the Taliban. The current Afghan government says we don't want to deal with Taliban. Both of those points are right from the beginning. The Americans are saying, nope, you're going to do what we tell you to do, and we're going to talk to all parties concerned. Let's keep reading the letter. To move matters more fundamentally and quickly towards a settlement and a permanent and comprehensive ceasefire, we are immediately pursuing a high-level diplomatic effort with the parties and with regional countries and the United Nations. This effort will include several elements. First, we intend to ask the United Nations to convene foreign ministers and envoys from Russia, China, Pakistan, Iran, India, and the United States to discuss a unified approach to supporting peace in Afghanistan. It is my belief that these countries share an abiding common interest in a stable Afghanistan and must work together if we are to succeed. India has no business in Afghanistan. What the Americans have been trying to do for years is they are providing aid and assistance to India and practically begging India to drop its troops into Afghanistan. India knows that that's not going to happen. One thing the entire nation of Afghanistan is united upon is their hatred for India. We're not talking about a few secular groups who go and study in India or their kids study in India or they own properties. To give you in perspective, the mountain range that divides the Indian subcontinent from Afghanistan is actually called Hindu Kush, meaning Hindu killer. So India knows that if they land troops in Afghanistan, it will become India's Vietnam or even worse. India does not border with Afghanistan, and yet America continues to try to have India send its troops to Afghanistan. Continuing with the letter. Second, I've asked Ambassador Khalilzad, whose vital work President Biden and I asked that he continue to prepare and to share with you, as well as with the Taliban leaders, written proposals aimed at accelerating discussions on a negotiated settlement and ceasefire. These proposals reflect some of the ideas. So here they are clearly saying that we are talking to Taliban and we're going to continue talking to the Taliban, which the Afghan government is completely against. Included in the roadmap for peace process that Ambassador Mohib shared with Ambassador Wilson. In sharing these documents, we do not intend to dictate terms to the parties. Rather, the documents will enable the Islamic Republic and the Taliban to move urgently to the tasks of developing A. the foundational principles that will guide Afghanistan's future constitutional and governing arrangements. B. a roadmap to a new inclusive government, completely against the goals of the current government of Afghanistan. They don't want the Taliban to be part of any government, any negotiations or anything. C. the terms of a permanent and comprehensive ceasefire. I urge you to develop constructive positions on these written proposals to discuss with Ambassador Khalilzad. Third, we ask that the government of Turkey to host a senior level meeting of both sides in the coming weeks to finalize a peace agreement. I urge you or your authoritative designees to join other representatives of the Islamic Republic in this meeting. Third time they're saying you are going to be sitting on the same table with the Taliban. Fourth, we share your view that every effort must be made to reduce the high levels of violence in Afghanistan, which are exacting an unacceptable toll on the Afghan people and deeply undermining efforts to achieve peace. We have prepared a revised proposal for a 90-day reduction in violence, which is intended to prevent a spring offensive by the Taliban and to coincide with our diplomatic efforts to support a political settlement between the parties. I urge you to positively consider the proposal, which Ambassador Khalilzad will share with you. Taliban have already announced that within a few weeks they will start the spring offensive. So this is obviously, America doesn't have that many troops in Afghanistan. So this is a major concern for United States, and they don't want Afghanistan to do this. Continuing with the letter. Unity and inclusivity on the Islamic Republic side are, I believe, essential for the difficult work that lies ahead. As you and your countrymen know all too well, disunity on the part of Afghan leaders proved disastrous in the early 1990s and must not be allowed to sabotage the opportunity before us. Your work together with Chairman Abdullah and your engagement with former President Karzai and Professor Sayyaf show promise towards building a more unified Afghan front for peace. I ask that you work together to further broaden this consultative group of four such that Afghans regard it as inclusive and credible, to build consensus on specific goals and objectives for a negotiation with the Taliban about governance, power sharing, and essential supporting principles, and to agree on overall tactics and public messages that will demonstrate unity of effort and purpose. We will strongly support all efforts taken to make this united front work. Once again, this is the third or the fourth time the Americans are specifically mentioning Taliban again and again and again about governance, power sharing, and so on and so forth. I must also make clear to you, Mr. President, that as our policy processes continue in Washington, the United States has not ruled out any option. We are considering the full withdrawal of our forces by May 1st as we consider other options. This is a threat to say if we leave by the May 1st, there's nobody to protect you and your government will fall like a deck of cards. Even with the continuation of financial assistance from the United States to your offices after an American military withdrawal, I'm concerned that the security situation will worsen and that the Taliban could make rapid territorial gains. I am making this clear to you so that you understand the urgency of my tone regarding the collective work outlined in this letter. I look forward to continuing to work with you as a partner. There's no partnership here. It is an open and naked threat to the current Afghan government that you either sit down and negotiate, or we're going to go and you are going to fall and you'll be left to fend by yourselves to the threat of Taliban. Now, the reaction from Afghanistan has been utterly chaotic. So this is Vice President of Afghanistan, Saleh, and a report says, quote, the West and America have the right to decide about their troops in Afghanistan, but it is also our right to not make a deal and compromise on the dignity of 35 million Afghans based on others' timetables. I.e., his first reaction, we're not making a deal with Afghanistan. America is saying, you better sit down and make a deal with everybody, or we're going to leave and you will have no security. His first reaction of Vice President of Kabul, direct quote, we're not going to compromise. They're in no position to be able to do that. They have, without American military and so on, they can't defend Kabul or anything like that. Right. More reaction coming. President Ghani is reportedly deeply angry about Blinken's letter. Confrontation seems to be just beginning between the new US government and Kabul, possibly worse than the Karzai era. Now Kabul looks more isolated regionally and at home. Tough times ahead for Afghans, no doubt. One person suggested that the Saleh government or the Afghan government should summon the US envoy, tear the letter, and give pieces to him. Now, to give you an idea how chaotic and the situation is in Afghanistan, these are four different people of key importance and positions within the Afghan government, and I'm just going to point out this tweet points out the panic which is ensuing in Kabul right now. So the vice president, he rejects the proposal of US plan for early peace, asks for elections. Okay, like what's that going to do? Abdullah, head of High Council of Reconciliation, replies to him, elections aren't possible. Foreign Minister of Afghanistan, Atmar, says plan is under serious study. So completely contradicts his own vice president and the reconciliation person. Then the deputy Haji Deen Muhammad, so he is the assistant of Abdullah, says sacrifices are needed. So officially the messages that are coming out of Afghanistan are completely disunited. People don't know how to react because the Americans have says that if we leave, you're not going to be able to survive a day without our support. And it is utter chaos. They don't know what to do. These guys that are in charge of Afghanistan, they don't want to deal with Taliban, and the Americans have repeatedly saying again and again and again, you need to sit down and negotiate with Afghanistan. All of this news was all of it came out, yesterday on the 7th of March. So what happened today on the 8th of March? These are actual images, proper photographs from Rawalpindi, Pakistan, the military base, Nur Khan military base in Rawalpindi. And what they show is this is a US Air Force VIP jet landing, at some point in Pakistan. Then you had the CIA VIP jet landing in Pakistan. You had the Qatari Air Force Boeing C-17 Globemaster III. So these planes generally, carry military vehicles, Humvees, supplies, etc., that kind of thing, landing in Pakistan. Royal Air Force Boeing C-17 Globemaster III landing in Pakistan. All of this within a few hours on the 8th of March today. All of these parties, the US military, the CIA, possibly the British, MI6, Qataris, all of those, Afghanistan, the only office they have is in Qatar. So Qatar was part of the peace deal. And so on and so forth. So all of this clearly indicates that there is, a lot of emphasis being put by various parties to get, the Afghanis to sit together to negotiate a peace deal, which some of these guys who are part of the Afghan government don't want to do. I mean, let me take you back to the threat in the last part of Secretary Blinken's letter. Even with the continuation of financial assistance from the United States to your forces after an American military withdrawal, I am concerned that the security situation will worsen than all Taliban and that the Taliban could make rapid territorial gains. I'm making this clear to you so that you understand the urgency of my tone regarding the collective work outlined in this letter. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is a seasoned diplomat. He's one of the best diplomats in the United States. Very calm, very collective. This letter, particularly the last paragraph of it, isn't diplomatic at all. All it is a clear threat to the president of Afghanistan, to the vice president of Afghanistan, and most of the government officials to say, you better toe the line or we're going to go and you'll be left to fend on your own. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.